Ram, what am I running away from?
Well, I even said I never said you were running away. People in my chat were saying that. I don't know.
Why were they saying that? I'm interested. Why were they saying that?
I don't know. I guess you'd have to ask them.
So can you come back and explain some of the claims you've been saying about me tonight that I've been hearing about?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, what claims specifically?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. What did you make? What did you say about me?
Oh, I've said a. Oh wait, one sec. I just have to adjust my volume levels.
Go ahead.
I don't know. Like, I've said a lot of things tonight. I can't. You'd have to. Can you give me specific examples?
Okay, what would be a relevant point of debate? What would be a relative point of contention to debate about?
We could discuss the ethics of incest.
When have I spoken about incest?
I never said you did, but
so tell me what are you saying about me? You said you don't believe I mastered Hegel at 19?
Oh well, yeah, I know you didn't.
Oh, how is that?
Just because I know about the difficulty of Hegel and the prerequisites required. I mean, there's not much of a debate here to be had.
No, I think there's actually a debate here to be had. So, on the basis of the difficulties of Hegel, which are not under dispute, and the requirements of mastering Hegel's system, which I'm not sure you would be aware of, because I don't even think you've ever claimed you've mastered Hegel's system, so I don't even know how you would fucking know. How do you know for a fact that I didn't master Hegel's system at 19? Go ahead.
I guess I can't know for definitive.
You can't. You really can't. So why don't you just shut the fuck up about it and stop telling people?
I can make an educated, informed guess based.
But you didn't say I don't think. You said there's no way.
I can say that based on the type of people I know who are familiar with Hegel, these people who have really mastered Hegel tend not to act like man children.
Wait. So you're assuming.
So that's
hold on. So you're assuming based on the character and temperament of people who have read Hegel and you trust in. What does that have to do with how someone is going to act specifically? Do you think Hegel is some kind of cultural prescriptive thought guru like Jordan Peterson? He tells you how to talk and tells you how to act and things like that? Because I know you're used to only being on Twitch and like only being in public and like bluffing and pretending you're a guy who knows what he's talking about. So you only know these cult of personality people like Jordan Peterson and all these people on YouTube and stuff, and you really associate something like philosophy with, personalities and online influencers, like as if like Hegel was some kind of Jake Paul, because that's all you fucking understand or know. But I really want you to justify, I really want to pin you down and justify how you could say that your perception that I act like a man-child and I'm not sophisticated and I don't speak seriously like perspective philosophy can justify the assumption that I could not have possibly mastered Hegel's system at 19 years old. Please justify that, Rem.
Yeah, I mean, in order to do that, you'd have to be probably like a child prodigy. And if you have actually mastered Hegel, I mean, presumably you wouldn't be spending your time acting like, a child on Twitch.
Wait, why? Wait, hold on.
A ton of money publishing books on him. What are you spending
Wait.
For?
So, Rem, have I written books before? How many have I written? And if I have?
I said I don't think you have.
You don't think I've written books?
You've written books?
Yes, I have. I just didn't release them publicly. Yes, I have written books.
I would love to read one of your books.
Well, I don't want a sniveling pseudo-intellectual like you anywhere near my books. Yeah. Okay. But so Rem.
So you've written books, but you won't allow someone like me to read them.
Absolutely not. No. But anyway, let's continue. So Rem. So you think that hold on. I want to pin you down on this since you're such a philosopher.
You can't actually sit
here. Rem, let's be philosophers and let's focus on the meat and potatoes since you're a philosophy, I want to put your philosophy to text. Do you think that a certain type of disposition is necessarily implied by the mastery of Hegel's thought? Do you think a certain career, Okay, so let me ask you a question, Rem.
Inference to the best explanation. I think that would be the technical term for it.
So you're inferring what? You're inferring that I could not have possibly mastered. Hold on. I could not have possibly. I could not have possibly mastered Hegel's system as 19 because within the limited range of my knowledge of what kind of people Hegelians are, they are nothing like you. That's pretty much your claim, right?
Well, yeah, so that's part of it. Another is that I don't know why you'd be spending your time on Twitch acting like a baby. I mean, so if you actually are able to show me some of these books you've written,
well, since it's such a decisive part of your argument, and no, I'm not going to show you my fucking books. I've only showed like fucking 15 people my books. Why would I show you? But
what's the title? Can you tell me the title a bit?
Of which ones?
Of any of your books.
Okay, I have one book which is called Islam in the Shadow of Globality. I have another book called
on Hegel?
Sorry?
That one's not on Hegel, though.
No, it's not.
What is the name of one of your Hegel books?
I haven't written a book wholly and specifically dedicated to Hegel. I don't know why I should have to have done that.
But you've incorporated Hegel into some of your books.
Obviously.
Which, like, what kind, like,
for example, I wrote a book about utopian socialism in which I put to work Hegel's decisive distinction between the state and civil society in relationship to the Frederick Jameson's Universal Army and Universal Conscription in relation to utopian socialism, and in relation to the South African EFF. So the book is called the South African EFF. I have another book called Form and Vlyast, which attempts to take a dive at dealing with the metaphysics of statehood in the age of quantum mechanics from a Hegelian perspective and against the Newtonian mechanics that informed Hobbes's perspective, the origins of statehood. And Form and Vlyast is about actually the origin of the Bolshevik Party, and it's about the October Revolution. And those, by the way, are just the books I've given titles to, and like that I actually am committing to publishing. I have to do more edits, and I've been working on them for years and years and years. But those are the ones I've just know for certain I'm going to publish as different books.
How long is the one? How long?
See, Rem. Here's an issue you are making.
I'm just wondering.
No, I know you're wondering now, Rem, but you weren't justified in making all the assumptions you did in the fucking first place. Oh, yeah. Why did you make all the assumptions you do? And the minute I call you out that you just should have shut your fucking mouth and not made assumptions, now you're being all inquisitive and you're asking me all these questions because, I'm interested in knowing them. I don't care, Rem. I don't exist to interest you. I don't care about the extent of your interest. All I care about is whether or not you can justify making all the assumptions and claims you made about me, and you really can't justify them because you were fucking wrong about them.
I don't have to justify anything. The way that you talk.
You don't. Rem. You are making subjective claims. You're making subjective claims about how my temperament hurts my fifis, and I don't like that you're a man child and you're acting ridiculous. But Rem, if you want to play the game of subjectivity, we have to quantify it then, right? At that point, I'm a bigger fucking streamer than you. More people like me than they like you. More people are interested in me than they like you. So why is your opinion relevant?
It doesn't have to be, but clearly you seem to care a lot about.
But the common site of contention, because the site of contention is truth. Because Rem, it's about truth. It's about what is true. You are making claims about me you cannot justify as true.
What is truth?
What do you mean?
Can you define truth?
Define truth. Go ahead.
No, I'm asking you.
There's literally a million ways you could define truth.
Well, what is your theory of truth?
I am using truth colloquially right now. I'm not interested in having a philosophical discussion with you about truth right now. Do you not know what I mean by true?
Wow, are you not?
Do you not know what I mean by true?
Well, I don't know. There's many ways. Like you said, there's many ways.
I know. I understand. So when I say you are saying things that cannot be justified as true,
yeah. What do we mean by true there?
In this context, what we mean as true is whether or not the form of your reasoning can be shown to be consistent with your conclusion. Whether your reasoning, whether your line of argumentation can actually justify the conclusion you draw. In this context, that's all it means.
That's soundness, not consistency, but I think I understand what you mean.
When it's not soundness, it's consistency.
Well, no. I mean, I feel like we should care about the truth of stuff, right? So we need to be careful with how we're using our words.
So can you justify those claims as true? Why would you say something to the... so why would you say something that you can't justify as true? Why would you say it?
Oh no, I mean, I feel very justified in saying it.
But the justification you have given me, Rem,
Yes.
was your subjective feeling that I'm a man child and that I'm yelling all day and that a
Yes.
person who has read Hegel would not be doing that. But you haven't justified why we should agree with that. And then you've said that, well, everyone I know who's a Hegelian doesn't act like you. But what if all of the people you knew who were Hegelians were white and I was the only Arab? Does that mean Arabs can't be Hegelians by the scale and range of your inference and the form of inference you're making? Like, what if all of the people you knew were men and then you didn't know any female Hegelians? Would you be justified in inferring that Hegelians cannot be female? Since you know nothing, it's clear you know nothing about Hegelianism itself, or at least you don't know enough about Hegelianism to actually justify why you would claim that I haven't mastered Hegel's system at 19. You are in no position to actually draw a conclusion about whether I did or not whatsoever. My behavior doesn't justify the conclusion you draw. Just because the Hegelians you know don't act like I do doesn't justify you making a definitive conclusion. Whether you're justifying it on the basis of likelihood or inference is completely irrelevant. You are not justified to talk out of your fucking ass. It's simple as that, Rem.
Well, I mean, we'll just have to disagree, I suppose, on what I'm justifying.
I accept your surrender.
No, I accept your surrender.
What did I surrender on? On what point did I specifically surrender on?
If you're not willing to debate like the conception of truth and justification with me, I mean, I suppose we'll just have to agree to disagree on this. And if
So wait. Now you want to debate about truth and justification? Do you really want? Do you really want to debate about the nature of truth and justification, Rem? And let's actually see if this is a test of your honesty, or do you want to see if I have a philosophically rigorous view of what truth is in order to justify in order to test the extent of my knowledge? What are we really looking for here, Rem? Because I haven't actually said anything that warrants an actual philosophical debate about truth. It sounds like you're just trying to test the extent of my familiarity with the relationship between truth and philosophy, which is a completely different issue than the colloquial, commonsensical accusation that I'm throwing against you, that you're just talking out of your fucking ass. There's no need to have a debate.
Because I have trouble understanding
Yeah.
you.
So is it that you want to have a debate about truth, or are you trying to expose me as someone who can't philosophically?
What you're saying.
You can't hear me.
You need to turn down the gain or something on your microphone.
Rem.
Because that's better. This is better. Whatever you're doing right now works.
Are you actually looking to debate?
This is good.
Rem, which one is it?
Yeah.
Are you looking to, and then we're going to do this, we're going to test your honesty. Are you doing this to debate about truth and justification, or are you trying to find some kind of gotcha and try to prove, and you would do so pathetically, right? You would pathetically fail at that Haz does not have any rigorous philosophical notion or view of what truth is. I think you're just trying to test me, Rem. I don't think anything has actually warranted a debate about truth. Nothing clearly has. So I can only draw the conclusion that you're just trying to test me.
Well, I think you've posed it as this binary option, which I don't think it is, because I'm still, from my perspective, I'm still not convinced that you're not kind of like an actor, putting on a show.
Okay, sure. What?
So this is partly.
Hold on. What justifies me being an actor? Go ahead. I actually don't like you, Rem. I literally don't like you, so I'm not acting.
Oh, no. I'm very aware of that.
Wait. How can you justify that awareness, though? If I'm an actor, you can't pick and choose what I am and I'm not acting about, right?
No, you're right that I can, it's very difficult for me to know for sure.
Right, so what is the decisive sight of me acting? If you can know that I genuinely dislike you, then what do you know is real and what do you know is not real? So we can draw the...
No, I mean, you're right. I can never know necessarily.
You can never know. Sure. But you just admitted that you knew I didn't like you, and I don't like you.
Well, you could like me. It's possible.
But no one forced you to admit and say, oh, I know you don't like me. Was that a Freudian slip? Was that a slip of tongue? You walk that back and take it back?
Just a way of moving the conversation forward.
So how is it moving the conversation forward? You could just say, oh, I don't know if you like me or not.
Well, okay.
I think you do know that I don't like you, Rem. I think you're being very selective about my acting, actually.
I don't even know.
So you claim you don't know enough about whether I'm acting or not And what is that decisive? Like, where's the decisive point in that?
Like I can't draw a line for you. Of course, that would be kind of
So
unreasonable.
what conclusion do you draw that I'm an actor? Therefore, what?
Therefore, it might not be worth engaging seriously with you.
Oh, really? Okay. So why are you talking to me in the call right now?
Oh, well, because it gives me viewers.
Right, of course. Yeah. Well, at least you're honest in that regard, Rem.
Well, what I even said this before. You think I'm actually talking to you because I'm trying to
Rem. So your copium strategy is basically to say that, well,
listen, infrared. Are you going to talk to me about the nature of truth?
Since I'm scared, well, all you have to do is answer my fucking question. Are you interested in debating about truth, or are you interested in testing me, Rem? Answer that fucking question and stop being a pussy. Answer that fucking question, Rem. Are you interested in debating about truth, or are you interested in testing me? Are you interested in debating me about truth? Because if you're interested in debating me about truth, you have to justify why. Why do you want to debate about truth? What have I said on the nature of truth that is a point of contention and debate and is worthy of debate? We will begin there.
Well, any claim that you make is going to be a claim that follows a certain understanding of truth.
And
so
by the way, Rem,
for example, if I said
you're not right, you're not correct, you're fucking wrong here, Rem. You know what, Rem? You are fucking wrong about that. You're literally wrong about that. Rem, actually, there is a huge discontinuity between the method by which people consciously and explicitly justify their concept of truth philosophically and the functional and practical reality of the truth claims and claims they make. Like, there's a difference between what people actually consider true and not true, and the way in which people attempt to render explicit the concept of truth. There is sorry, what?
Can you demonstrate that to me?
Oh, you're trying to troll me with the alacrity thing?
No, I'm genuinely curious. Can you actually demonstrate? Because I don't believe that.
Okay, you want me to demonstrate that there is a discontinuity between the concept of truth and the operative and real sense of truth people have?
When I'm talking about what truth is, it's a question that applies to everybody. Whether anyone is aware of it or not, they're engaging with the notion of truth.
But they are not engaging with the concept of truth that is relevant to philosophy. No, they're not.
You would have to...
no, Rem. The burden of proof is upon you to prove something that hasn't been proven in the first place.
Well,
since the overwhelming majority of people... Rem, shut the fuck up for a second. Since the overwhelming majority of people, like 99% of people, will never be philosophers, and yet still have some kind of sense of what is true and what is false, and speak about the world in terms of true and false. What?
You're presupposing that everyone has this correct conception of what truth is.
No, I did. That's not what I said. I said they have a sense of what true or false is, i.e.
we have this inkling of an intuition, and philosophy helps us,
Rem. I'm saying such a banal, self-evident, uncontroversial fucking thing. All I'm saying is that 99% of people, despite never knowing or caring about what philosophy is or the concept of truth explicitly whatsoever, will know how to say, for example, oh, what you said about me the other day isn't true, or oh, that's not true, the contrary. Sorry, people use this in their everyday fucking practical functional language.
But they might be using it wrong.
What?
They might be using it wrong.
What do you mean they're using it wrong?
They could be using truth in a way that is actually...
If you are claiming they're using it... Rem, if you're claiming the way 99% of people use words is wrong, then you are overreaching the domain of philosophy in places where it doesn't fucking belong. Simple as that. You're overreaching. You are being greedy about where the actual domain of philosophy is. Philosophy doesn't exist to correct people about their actual, real, practical reality. Philosophy deals... Yeah, philosophy is its own sphere. Philosophy doesn't go and say, oh, the way people use language in their everyday and common use is wrong, and we philosophers are correct. Which philosopher does that?
Listen, I understand that you're a master Hegelian.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, not just in analytic, but also continental philosophy now, in semiotics, and even in deconstruction, is actually analyzing the way that we use words and trying to determine whether we're using them correctly.
Okay, so I have a question. How do you know you are not superimposing claims or presuppositions upon someone that they have never claimed and that they are not in their thoughts or in their head presupposing? Like, for example, if someone uses truth in a way that, while common and practical for them, violates what you think is the true concept of truth from a philosophical perspective, how do you know you're not just superimposing a position that they don't have? What if they don't care about the concept of truth? What if they're not even having in their mind the concept of truth? How do you prove that they are actually dealing with the concept of truth relevant to philosophy? Can you prove that?
Well, for one thing, we're always engaging with the topic of truth, because the very idea of having knowledge itself requires, having truth in some sense.
Yeah, can you answer my question now? Yeah. Can you answer the question?
I am. That's
now that you just avoided the question by saying that. It's not under contention.
Actually, there's this thing where you just
Rem, it is not under contention. It's not under contention that truth is necessary for knowledge. The question is, in an everyday, ordinary, and common context, can you prove to us that everyone has the concept of truth? That the concept of truth relevant to philosophy is what is conditioning and premising people's sense of truth in the ordinary context. Can you prove that, Rem? Please prove that specifically.
Sure. I mean, actually, that's kind of baked into an investigation of truth in the first place, because philosophers often, when they're investigating the nature of truth, are going to take a bunch of instances where there tends to be some type of agreement. It doesn't have to be based on anyone else's. It could be an individual based intuitions on, true statements. And then over time, through a process like reflective equilibrium, you're going to essentially narrow down the conditions required for a statement to be true or not, depending upon, for example, whether you're willing to give up that certain statement that you tend to make, like when you're saying that this is true. Like, for example, if I take a theory of truth that needs correspondence with something out there in the world, right? That rules out a lot of things that we typically want to say are true, like that Sherlock Holmes, smokes a pipe, right? That's not something that I can point to in the external world. So that's an instance where, I might have to weigh whether I really value those types of truth claims over other ones that are more ordinary truth claims, such as, there's a cup on my table, for example. So we start from, of course.
Okay, you have proven.
I'm answering your question.
No, you're not. You're not. Because what you have.
Am.
Okay, go ahead, Rem. Finish.
Yeah, thank you. So we start from these presuppositions, which is absolutely true. We start from these presuppositions of what is actually true in the world. And then we refine this conception to make it more coherent and more, I wouldn't say correct, because correctness is a whole different issue, because
please speed it up, Rem. Please speed it up.
Well, I thought you wanted to have a serious conversation on.
Well, we're not, because you're avoiding my question, and I can demonstrate why you've just completely avoided my question in its entirety. There is not one fucking facet of your response that addressed my question. You have only pointed out that philosophers attempt to take as their object the ordinary use of truth and begin from there.
No, they don't take it as their object.
As the starting point, which you know what I mean, as their starting point of their contemplation and reflection of the concept.
And it's a refinement.
And they turn something that is suspended in ordinary use in reality into a concept. Right? But when
it's something that's already there.
That's what you have to prove, Rem. You have to prove that it's already there, and you haven't proved it. All you've proven is that philosophers have taken something and they try to be consistent with how it's used already there, but you have not proven that it is already there. That's what I am asking you to prove. So can you prove that?
what you're asking me to prove isn't something that is possible to prove, nor does it.
Of course, it's not fucking possible to prove because there's no reason to believe it's the case. There is no reason to believe it is the case. If you believe it is the case, you are committing an unwarranted dogmatism, Rem. There is no reason to believe it is the case.
It's built into the idea of conceptual analysis that you are working with ideas that somebody already has. And
no, you are working. Here's the thing. Yes. Do you know what the idea is? Do you think the idea is the same thing as the fleeting and the idea relevant to philosophy, which begins from Plato onwards? That idea. That is the idea relevant to philosophers. The ambiguous and fleeting and indeterminate and completely wishy-washy things that are suspended in everyday language have never been the idea for philosophers. That has never been the site of ideas for philosophers. Philosophers have dealt with the idea on the terms of philosophy, and they kept it there. They didn't go up to random people on the street and say, you are misusing the idea, or you are using a false notion of truth. Because truth, as is relevant to them, philosophy's role is not to dogmatically insist that everyone is already a philosopher. Philosophy's role is to insist that it can clarify. It can give clarification to what is.
I don't actually. In fact, you seem to be kind of proving my point, because quite literally the idea of conceptual analysis is showing that, hey guys, we use this concept. Let's narrow down.
No,
make more
here's
clear
no.
what
It's not.
is.
It's not that
not
we.
An invention.
No, it's not that. It's
it is
they.
A refinement.
Listen,
and an
listen.
Listen,
Rem.
That
but
ordinary people.
Rem, listen, Rem. Shut the fuck up and listen, little boy. I'm educating you now. Rem.
Oh, yeah.
When you turn it into a concept, though, that's the thing.
What do you turn it into a concept? What does that mean?
It means you cannot treat it as though it is the concept relevant to philosophy already.
Turn something into a concept. What does that mean?
You want to talk over me again, little boy? Or you want to fucking hear my response?
You keep saying I'm doing something. Explain what the hell it means.
Explain what the hell it means. You know you sound like Jordan Peterson, right? But anyway, Rem.
Both Canadian. So
yeah, anyway, Rem. Let me explain it to you again.
What does it mean to turn something into
What does it mean? What is it? You want me to fucking respond, or you want to keep talking over me?
Oh, are you going to answer it?
Yes.
Okay.
It means that something suspended in reality is now put within the frame of conscious, explicit, and conceptual thought. You are turning thoughts that are not necessarily conceptual thoughts relevant to philosophy into objects of inquiry and relevance and investigation for philosophers. So to turn something into a concept, so to speak, is to make something relevant to the domain and sphere of philosophy. That's all it means. The way philosophers treat things is because the way philosophers are going to treat something is going to be different from how ordinary people treat it.
Well, what do you say then to like ordinary language philosophers who don't actually do anything that you're describing, but still try to explicate the concept by actually treating it how it is?
Because ordinary language philosophy is a farce. That's why. That's what I will say to them.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's a contradiction in terms. It's a contradiction in terms. That's my position on ordinary language philosophy.
Okay, so going back to your idea, so what is this fleeting domain that you're talking about? Are you talking about like the direct?
It may be the sphere
logical experiences.
It can be the sphere of phenomenology for Husserl and later Heidegger, or it could be the object relevant for psychoanalysis.
Do you think that Husserl was a good philosopher?
I don't think Husserl was a philosopher at all.
Why?
Because, again, for me, philosophy ends with Hegel.
That seems like a very arbitrary line to draw, doesn't it?
Well, it's not arbitrary.
What about
it's not a very uncommon position either to hold that Hegel was the last philosopher. Like, for example,
not if you're an online LARPer, I agree, but
what do you mean not if you're an online? Literally, you think I'm the first person to say Hegel was the last philosopher?
There are many people in Discord philosophy servers who say similar things.
Was Foucault a Discord philosopher? Foucault.
I don't know. I don't know Foucault.
Well, Discord wasn't
never met him.
invented in this time span in which he lived, so are you sure?
No, I think Foucault's still alive.
Foucault is still alive?
Yeah. Him and
What?
Chomsky had a debate like last year or something.
I did not know that. No, he's not fucking alive. He died in 84. What are you fucking talking about? So what was the point in saying that?
You actually bought him for a second.
So I'm not keeping tabs on. I mean, like people like Hélène Bédieu are still alive, for example, or as far as I remember.
I think
so. I'm not keeping. So what? I'm not keeping tabs on the lives of French philosophers. There's plenty of people that I thought were dead ended up still being alive before. So why would I? Why is that a relevant point?
It's not. I was just.
So okay, it was Foucault a Discord philosopher?
I don't know. I don't know Foucault.
Foucault said that for any thinker, for any philosopher, Hegel will be the last. All roads lead to Hegel. That's what he said. It's the position of virtually every Marxist that Hegel was the last philosopher.
But
yeah,
there are also people who say Plato was the last philosopher, and that everything are just footnotes on Plato, including Hegel.
Okay, but the whole point is that after Hegel, you are outside of philosophy. That's the main point. After Hegel,
like you are using different definitions of philosophy. Then
after Hegel, you are no longer within the sphere of philosophy proper.
So every single philosopher on Earth, except for strictly specific Hegelians, are not philosophers.
No, Hegelians are not philosophers either. They are disciples of the last philosopher, Hegel.
Oh, I see. So there actually aren't any philosophers at all.
Wait, Rem? Did you study elementary logic or whatever? Like, if I say Hegel is the last philosopher, that doesn't mean Hegelians are philosophers. What is wrong with your head, dude?
Well, if you completely take on all of his ideas, that presumably maybe you could.
It still doesn't make you Hegel. It still does not make you Hegel. Taking on all of
Hegel's... It doesn't make you Hegel, but I mean, just being a person, it's the ideas that you have. It's not.
No, it doesn't. It would make you the disciple of the last philosopher. It would not make you a philosopher. Then, Hegel is the one who arrived at those insights in the first place. Everyone else is just studying them, so that makes him the philosopher. Do you know what a philosopher does? A philosopher is the one who... A philosopher doesn't just study philosophers. A philosopher actually engages in philosophy.
Oh, yeah.
By studying Hegel, you are not engaging in any new philosophy. You're not even engaging in philosophy proper. You're just studying a past philosopher.
Do you think that... so you think that every single philosopher on the planet right now is not a philosopher?
Well, you just worded that as though it's an absurdity. If we presuppose that they are philosophers, obviously it's an absurdity to say that they are not philosophers.
Sorry, let me restate it then. You think everyone who claims to be a philosopher and is paid to be a philosopher...
Full of shit, yes. I do think they're not philosophers.
Very interesting. Yeah. I have a similar position about mathematics, in that anyone after
Why do I care?
Not a mathematician.
Can you demonstrate why I should care? Let's stick to the meat and potatoes.
I can't really demonstrate that because I think that philosophy ended with probably Herodotus. And Herodotus
Okay. No, Rem. You're trying to troll because you just got your fucking ass handed to you. I exposed you as a fucking fraud. But let me entertain you, Rem. If you really want to maintain your little point with you trolling, why? Why is he the last philosopher?
Who? Oh, Herodotus?
Yes, Herodotus. Why is he the last philosopher? You're assuming there's no
person to truly engage with philosophy proper in the way that he lived.
Why?
Okay, will you not interrupt me while I actually try to seriously explain?
Go explain.
So, in the last days of Herodotus's life, he was incredibly sick, and he continually refused to take any advice from doctors or any medicine from doctors because he believed that as a philosopher, he essentially knew better than these trained, who were trained in like the Alexandrian sciences, the four humors and whatnot. And committing to his philosophical cause and these fundamental beliefs, he put himself in a bathtub full of horse shit and basically boiled to death in hot horse shit. And I think that you can't really top that.
Okay, so actually, Rem, and look, Rem. So at this point, you've conceded to me, you've surrendered. You're just trying to troll.
That's not a joke. That's
Okay,
actually true.
okay. So let's pretend you're being real, right?
No,
You-
that's real.
Yeah, no. Let's pretend you're being real about the position
You don't believe that's true?
No, but that you're qualifying, that you sincerely believe this makes him the last philosopher. Just stay on. Learn Logic 101, please. I'm not disputing whatever story you just told being true. I'm calling into question whether you sincerely believe this qualifies him as the last philosopher. So, Rem, this actually would not make Herodotus the last philosopher. It may just make him the most ethical philosopher in your view.
No,
In the
I
history
think
of
he is
philosophy,
the last.
or the
one else
most
has done that.
What?
He has completed. He had a complete system that allowed him to live in a way that he just completely surrendered to his life.
But that does.
or rather to death.
But guess what? Philosophy is, while ethics is a part of philosophy, it's not the same thing. So you have to actually demonstrate.
No.
Yeah.
The fact that Herodotus didn't think that is quite literally why he is the last philosopher, because people who think otherwise are now no longer engaging in philosophy.
And okay. Then let me ask you a question. How does this qualify him as the last philosopher as regards to the fundamental question and essence of what philosophy is?
Because he fundamentally believed that ethics was the complete end of all philosophy, and that to live in a way that is completely consistent with your ethical worldview and not try to extend philosophy to anything else, that is what philosophy truly is.
But you didn't answer my question.
What was the question?
How does this resolve the fundamental project of philosophy?
Well, the fundamental project of philosophy,
which is not just about ethics. You can say that you think that, for example, philosophy, the project of philosophy ends with ethics, right?
No, it ends with a tub of horseshit.
Okay, but you haven't gotten from A to B. You understand? You haven't gotten from A to B.
Well, yeah, but you haven't either.
In regards to what?
Like your notion of what philosophy is not somehow more justified than mine.
Okay, so what's my notion of philosophy?
Well, it's presumably whatever Hegel did and no one else can do since.
That's actually not true.
So there is something that more people can... There can be another philosopher.
No, there cannot.
Okay, then how is what I just said false?
Because the reason I'm saying, and other people say Hegel was the last philosopher, is not just because they're saying Hegel has the best or only philosophy. It's that
no. I know.
They believe Hegel
has concept it is.
Hegel has resolved the question, the fundamental problem of philosophy.
What is that problem?
The problem of philosophy is the relationship between thinking and being in the form of the idea, the Platonic idea.
No, I just disagree.
Why is that?
I just do. I mean, I guess you disagree with my notion.
But hold on, Rem. I have never made an arbitrary line where I'm saying I just think it because I think it.
Well, why is that the philosophical question? Why isn't Herodotus's the fundamental question?
Effectively what you're saying is, why does philosophy begin with Plato?
No, I'm asking why is reconciling the ideas of thinking and being. Why is that?
No, not the ideas of thinking and being, but thinking and being as such.
Itself, in itself.
And not through the idea as the privileged medium.
Why is that the fundamental question?
Why is the idea fundamental to philosophy?
Why is that the fundamental philosophical question?
Because for all philosophers in history, actually, they are responding to the challenge set before by Plato and the Platonic idea, what this implications has. To be consistent to the Platonic idea as the privileged site of the relationship between thinking and being, that has consequences and ramifications. That is the very object of philosophy. And
but you're excluding people who you don't consider to be... Because I know many philosophers who don't engage with that concept at all, who I consider philosophers. So you're just kind of begging the question by saying that, well, these other people who do this...
Okay, so what to you is the essence of philosophy?
I already said. I mean, it's
It's the Herodotus thing,
determining.
right? Okay, but how is mine arbitrary though? Because although there are other people who have a different view of philosophy, I would
Mhm.
critique them not because I'm imposing some dogmatic form. I would critique them based on the content of what they're saying philosophy is. Not, I
Well,
wouldn't
what's
just
wrong?
say
What is wrong with Herodotus's?
what is Herodotus's.
Herodotus's is how long can someone live of horseshit before they die?
And how what does this have to
Why?
do with the essence of philosophy?
That is the essence of philosophy,
Why?
because that's just what the nature of the question is.
I'm
What can I
okay. Well,
say?
the problem, Rem, is that I don't know of any philosophers,
I
and
gave you one, Herodotus.
okay, but I don't. As far as the history of philosophy is concerned, I could not possibly explain the development and history of philosophy on the terms of the development of that essence. Like, I could not explain, for example, Hegel could not write about the history of philosophy, which he did, on the transition from the post-Socratics to, I'm skipping a lot of the Stoics and the medieval scholastics and the Islamic philosophers and the Enlightenment, Descartes, Spinoza, Kant. Hegel actually imminently develops philosophy from one to the other as the development of one singular essence. He could not possibly do that on the terms and basis of Herodotus shit, whatever you're talking about.
Can I propose to you a serious idea, like one of the fundamental questions of philosophy? And I'm
Okay.
just curious why you would consider it to be illegitimate. I would
Yeah.
consider, and this is a question that I would say a large number of modern philosophers now grapple with, is the question of how we can have reasons and what reasons are. That's what I would say the fundamental question of philosophy is.
Okay. Then,
Because
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
if
I would actually
can I
answer that
just give you
question.
the positive, because you gave your positive reason as to why that would be. So
Yeah.
mine would simply be that the very question of the nature of philosophy, that question, you need to have a reason for asking
Okay,
that question.
Rem, since you decided to grow up and actually engage, I'll actually respond to that. I'll respond to that absolutely. So the problem with that is that you're using a very ambiguous word, the reasons, but it sounds like you're presupposing that reason can only take the form of the idea or the concept. But if we actually treat the word reason with the full breadth of what it really means, which is more or less meaning,
Well,
then
it has many
the
meanings.
definition you just gave would make philosophy indistinguishable from not only religion but also art and aesthetics and many other
Oh,
things.
absolutely. I think everything at its fundamental is philosophy for sure. Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that you are not specific enough about why that's philosophy and not religion and not aesthetics.
Because all questions fundamentally require an answer to that question.
But religious, for example, the way in which religion deals with the question of meaning is very different from the way in which
I'm not talking
philosophy
about me.
does.
I don't know what you're meaning by meaning.
Okay, reason.
Because
The way religion deals with the reasons for things is very different than
can I define
philosophy.
reason for you? Can I try to give just a
Okay,
definition of
go
what I
ahead,
understand?
define reason.
Okay, I would describe it, because I think it's primitive. I don't think it can be basically reduced to anything more than this. It's basically something that counts in favor of something else. That's what reason is. Something is a reason for something if if it counts in favor of something being the case. So, for example, on the question of the fundamental nature of philosophy, we have to have a reason for ascribing value to that question.
Yeah,
And what would that reason
but
be? Can
as
you
far
answer
as
that?
religion, but as far as religion is concerned,
Yeah.
even the definition you just gave of reason is still doesn't address my point. Even religion will deal with a reason for another reason.
No, but I'm talking about the very nature of reason itself, the structure of reason. I'm
Okay,
not talking about instances where you're looking
when
for
you
reasons.
but here's the thing,
That's
Rem.
different.
When you I know what you're trying to say, Rem. It's not that I don't know what you're trying to say. I'm just trying to demonstrate to you that your definition is bullshit of what philosophy is. Because when you talk about structure and form, what you're really talking about is Not even I don't think the analytic philosophers even really deal with the idea and all of its breadth and all of its implications. But what you are dealing with is some kind of form of thought, of pure thought specifically, and maybe not even necessarily thought.
But you're presupposing an answer to the question, because many people hold that reason is not something that's internal, but is something external to us.
It doesn't matter. It still doesn't address how it's different from religion or aesthetics, and I can explain why if you want.
I don't understand. So, okay, yeah, go ahead and explain, because the question of what reason is, it's a way of understanding how it structures our experience and how it structures our normativity, and determining what should we accept.
No. Structure is something you're introducing. I don't know where you're getting structure from.
Structure is simply the way that we understand how reason plays a role in our experience. That's it. It's an analysis of how we.
Then you're not dealing with reason. You're dealing with the understanding.
I don't understand what you mean by that. Obviously, there's understanding.
The understanding and reason are not the same thing.
Okay, but let me try to demonstrate what I mean here. Because for everything that you're saying, I can ask, well, why? And you have to provide me a reason for that. So every question that you pose,
but Rem, there's more.
As to why to ask
what I'm trying to tell you is that there are experiences or mental states or whatever you want, or relationships to being, that can be argued to be more fundamental than just conceptual thought, like a religious experience of
but you'd have to give
divine
me a reason
sublimity.
To believe that.
But as you've just pointed out, Rem, reason is always metonymic in the sense that it's always going to have to refer to something else. So eventually the buck has to stop somewhere, and it's going to denote some kind of irreducible intuition that cannot be expounded into the form of a completely transparent, communicable, static form. It's something that, for example, can only refer and relate to a more fundamental...
So you agree it's a fundamental question of philosophy?
No, not necessarily, because philosophy is dealing with the question of reason and the understanding and so on within the frame of the Platonic idea. The Platonic idea is where the buck stops as far as philosophy is concerned. Like, for example...
But why does the buck not stop with reason if you acknowledge that that's irreducible?
Because it's reason in the form of the idea.
Well, what does that mean?
Because if it's not in the form of the idea, then you have not separated...
What does it mean to be in the form of an idea?
But then it's not separate from religion, and it's not separate from...
But I'm just trying to figure, what does it mean to be in the form of an idea, as opposed to what?
For example, as the form of an aesthetic sense, or as the form of a kind of religious consciousness, or a religious, deep spiritual belief, something like that.
I don't understand how these things...
I know, because you're not really an educated person, so I can get that.
Well, no, I mean, you're saying that I'm using terms vaguely, but I would say that...
Yeah, reason is reason does not only take one form.
Well, you've acknowledged that it's irreducible, it's a fundamental part of our experience, but you want to say it's not the most fundamental? There's something more fundamental than that?
You're saying reason is the most fundamental part of our experience? I don't. Okay, well, but by your own admission, reason refers to something beyond itself. Reason cannot.
No, it could. But that's the topic of investigation.
It always does. Whatever form you may isolate and call that reason, that form necessarily must refer to something beyond itself.
Well, no, if it's something that's purely... No, but you've already acknowledged...
Okay, so can you tell me if
product of intuition, so it can't. It's indefinable. It can't refer to something beyond itself.
I agree. I mean, no, it does refer to something beyond itself, and that very something is the object of the intuition.
But if it is the object of the intuition, then it's referring to itself.
It's not... What do you mean it's referring to itself?
You said to me that it's something irreducible and something that we just intuit, right?
I said reason is that?
Yes.
No, I said reason eventually has to stop. The buck has to stop somewhere in the chain of reasoning.
Okay, I don't mean reasoning as in like rationality. I'm using reason in the form of counts in favor of.
What counts in favor of?
I've said that multiple
Then,
times.
then
I've
you're
said,
not. If you're saying counts in favor of, it's not necessarily reason anymore. It's more like
I'm not using reason.
verifiability. Then it's a question of justification and verifiability. It's not necessarily the same as reason.
No. Any question you ask, I can ask you a reason for asking it.
I know, but that's still not specific enough to define what reason. You don't even know what reason is.
Let me give you an example. You know modus ponens?
I know what?
Modus ponens?
No, what is that?
Weren't you accusing me of not knowing basic logic?
Yeah, I don't. I'm not a logic
Modus
board.
ponens is like the basic logical axiom, which is basically if P, then Q.
Yeah, I don't deal with the PP stuff. I think that's just math. It's not really philosophy at all.
Have you read Science of Logic?
Yeah.
You know Hegel deals directly with that.
With PP?
He deals directly with logical axioms and stuff like modus ponens.
But he doesn't deal with the PP and the PQ and the QQ or whatever.
I mean, he might. Okay, so he phrases it in a different way, but he still. It's a logical axiom that we accept. It's a rule of inference. Okay,
but he doesn't deal with it in this purely mathematical terms. Okay, that's analytic.
I mean, philosophy. I wouldn't consider it mathematical. Like, I don't think that these are mathematical terms.
I think it is. I think it's just mathematics.
Okay, then if something is the case, well, you understand what I mean.
I mean, mathematics is like the purest form of logic proper. So, I mean, I'm not saying there's something wrong with
I think you're using mathematics in a way that I don't use it. I think mathematics is at its root logic, not the other way around. But
okay, so I don't care. It's just completely semantical point.
Okay, yeah. So I recognize that.
Okay, what's the significance of modus ponens?
You understand what I mean by when I say if P then Q. Okay.
Yeah.
If P is instantiated, then necessarily Q. Right?
Yeah.
If grass is green, or if it rains tomorrow, then the grass will be wet. Yeah. If it's true that it rains, then necessarily, okay. So that's modus ponens. But that's not. You want to say that that's a structure?
That's not specific. That's actually that's too specific to be what reason is. Okay.
I'm not defining that as reason. I'm not. Okay. I'm giving you but that's something that we want to say is necessarily true within our way of experiencing the world. For example, we can't experience something that is both.
You're not describing the way we experience the world. You're describing only the logic itself. You're not actually talking about something as very sweeping and broad and deep as experience.
Are you a dialetheist?
Sorry?
Do you think we can experience something as being both the case and not the case?
It depends on what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean.
Do you think we can experience something as existing and not existing at the same time?
Can we experience something that is both existing and not existing
at the same time?
It depends on how we define existence. If we define
how do you define existence?
So for example, to me,
I think that's something that's not definable.
I don't know. Well, to me, for example, my conception of the existence, I'm a dialectical materialist. So for me, every existence is kind of pregnant with its own development and becoming, and thus inevitable inexistence and sublation into a higher existence, for example. So it's a difficult question, what you're actually asking me.
Do you think you can experience, example, do you think you can experience an object like a cup being both red and not red at the same time?
Can it be both red and not red at the same time? Let me think. Kind of from a maybe transcendentalist, like Kantian perspective.
I have no idea what
it's actually not really easy to answer that question.
I mean, Kant would, for example, never say that that's possible at all. Kant would say that is a complete that the very idea of that transcends the bounds of human experience.
Why would he say that? Because for example,
the principle of contradiction is something that he takes.
But you're not talking
he
about
states that
you,
explicitly.
listen. The principle of contradiction is about A is A. The principle of contradiction is not about something.
Sorry,
as
non-contradiction, whatever you want to call
the
it.
principle of non-contradiction is
Something
not,
cannot be both the case and not the case at the same time.
Yes, but when you bring experience into it, you're opening up a whole new can of worms.
No, but
when you bring up experience and existence into it, you're opening up a whole other can of worms than the principle of non-contradiction. Yes, I have.
Okay, so then you know that he derives the pure categories of the understanding through a transcendental deduction. Okay,
yeah.
And part of this is going to be that you can't experience an object in the world. When we form a judgment about something in the world, an object, okay, we can't premise it with two things that are contradictory to one another. That's a necessary condition.
Yes, for human experience. But when you bring, for example, can you experience the cup as red and not red at the same time?
Yes, Kant would say no.
No, but that you haven't actually demonstrated that based on what you've said.
Well, the whole point is that you can't really demonstrate it because a demonstration of that fact, you demonstrate it by,
like, for example, where does redness come from? Where does the redness come from?
Again, that's an indefinable thing that we experience. That's not. But this is the whole point. This is the whole point of Kant's project, is to investigate, well, what are the necessary conditions for experience in the first place?
Like, on the one hand, the reason I'm saying this is, on the one hand, you are experiencing the structure through some kind of transcendental structure. The cup.
What do you mean by transcendental structure?
Through the way in which the world is structured transcendentally.
Well,
through that,
I don't know what that means. Like, Kant doesn't ever talk like this, so I don't know what you mean by this.
Okay, so for Kant, I don't know if you've ever read Kant, and maybe I should explain it to you.
Very much so.
No, you really haven't.
I have.
Yeah. So for Kant, the world is actually mediated, by the categories of experience.
Categories of pure understanding. Yes.
The categories of pure understanding, and the synthetic a priori.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just calling that the transcendental structure, the transcendental, what is the word? Screen, if you will. If you have any familiarity with the history of philosophy, it's actually pretty common language, actually.
Okay, but no, talking about the transcendental structure, because there's a transcendental stance that we can take towards objects in the world, but that's very different for Kant than the type of empirical standpoint that we take. Yeah,
okay. Listen, Rem, I'm gonna say this slowly for you. For Kant, is our experience of the world structured, or is it just a pure empirical experience?
I've already said that it's structured by the necessary.
So why are you taking qualms when I say
to clarify what you meant?
Why are you having a problem when I'm saying something that any real Kantian would just understand exactly what I'm talking about when I say transcendental structure? What's the issue?
Sorry, someone donated. No, the issue is that I don't ever recognize Kant as speaking in that way. If you want to cite me a
so
place
that just means you can't even put it into your own words. You can't even recognize someone putting it into their own words.
No, it's called you use terms in a way I didn't recognize, and Kant certainly didn't use it that way. So I was asking you to clarify it. As conversations work.
Like, Kantians talk about this Kantians use it in this way all the time.
Who? What Kantians?
I mean, I couldn't name them off the top of my head, but I'm familiar.
Can you name a single Kantian right now? You accuse me of being educated.
What do you mean? Wait, hold on. No, that's not true. What about
What about Henry Allison?
I'm not familiar with him. Who is the neo-Kantian?
Alice?
No, the neo-Kantian from the late 19th century
Rawson.
who reinitiated Kantianism?
Green.
Neo-Kantianism.
Bradley.
Was it Bradley?
Green or Bradley? Yeah, F.H. Bradley.
Hold on. What was his name?
Mm-mm.
Bradley?
F.H. Bradley.
F.H. Bradley?
Husserl was a Kantian.
No, it was not. It's not Bradley. Fuck, what is his name? He was German, I'm pretty sure. Or he was French, either German or French. He was not English. I forgot his name.
Can't name a single. But do you find it?
I mean, I can name Kant, like Habermas is a Kantian. There's plenty of Kantians I can name. It's just that I'm just saying, like, if you're familiar with Kantian literature, neo-Kantians, whatever you want, it's not.
Well, I am, but that's why I'm asking. Can
you
give me examples of people who use it like
if you name people who talk about Kant's philosophy,
Yes.
you will find, it's very common that you're going to find this type
Well,
of language.
that's what I'm asking you for example.
The transcendental structure. Zizek will
Okay.
use the word transcendental structure. I'm pretty sure he uses
Zizek
that.
is not a Kantian.
It doesn't matter when he's talking about Kant and he's very familiar with Kant. He will say that it's not
Okay.
it's not controversial.
Listen. So getting back to the topic at
Yeah.
hand, when I was talking about modus ponens, okay,
Yeah.
Kant would say that this is a necessary.
No, wait, but
structure.
I'm responding to what you're saying. So let me respond. Now that we've gotten over this thing about transcendental structure, which you've decided to drag on for no fucking reason, even though you know what I was talking about. So when it comes to the transcendental structure, we cannot actually speak about what the cup or its color really is. We can only speak about it as it is mediated by our transcendental structure.
No, that's a misreading of Kant. Kant
Why?
actually wants to say that the only way we can talk about the world.
Yes, that's the only way we can talk about it, but that doesn't.
Empirically.
But that does not speak about its existence in itself. That's
yeah,
the
of
issue.
course. But the whole point of Kant is that to ask those types of questions is absurdity. It's not even something.
I know, but just because you're not asking the question doesn't mean it doesn't have relevance as far as existence is concerned. So existence is a very loaded
only has
word.
meaning from the empirical standpoint. That's Kant's whole point.
But existence doesn't only have to have meaning, because for Kant there is a thing in itself that is completely unknowable to us.
Which exactly.
It's 100%. And if it's 100% unknowable to us, then who am I to say that it's not possible that the cup is not actually red? I can't. I could never know that.
You have this is a butchered understanding of Kant.
Why? Explain.
I mean, because I would call myself a dual aspect interpreter of Kant, and I read Kant as essentially arguing that.
Justify why you read it that way, by the way.
Well, sure. I mean, if we look at the way that Kant uses the terms like transcendental object or the thing in itself, he uses these words in epistemic ways as epistemic conditions, not as something that is ontological in a certain sense.
Well, how can you justify that?
Kant.
I would love. So you're trying to make Kant like a rationalist. So how can you justify that?
Well, not as a rationalist.
Yeah,
he's an
because
idealist.
if you remove the thing in itself.
No, you're not removing the thing in itself.
If you remove the metaphysically charged, if you remove the fact that the thing in itself is metaphysically charged and it is actually referring to the world outside of our possible knowledge, and it's actually referring.
But then
to
you
that.
listen. I want to interpret Kant as charitably.
I don't
possible.
care. What do you mean as charitable? Why would Kant say the thing in itself as just the necessary conditions? Of knowledge? He is speaking about the precise limit of knowledge. So he is referring to a threshold beyond knowledge. He's not allowing us or permitting us to speak about it or have knowledge of it, but he is acknowledging that threshold is there.
Yeah, right. And that's the whole point. So anything that we want to define and talk about in experience has to be done from the empirical standpoint. So existence itself,
but you cannot. But if the thing in itself is unknowable to us, and that this is the threshold of our knowledge, then what exists? Then
that entails that we can only talk about it.
But just because that's all you can talk about, doesn't mean you can say with certainty that that's all there is. No, that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
they're two different things.
That's all we can ever say.
Yes,
all we can ever say.
But that doesn't mean you foreclose.
How are we going to say anything other than that?
Because Kant is fundamentally agnostic. That's all you can say, but he's not making claims about what it is in itself. He's just saying this is all we can say. He's refusing us.
That's the entire point.
Yes, right? He's not allowing us to speak about what it is in itself.
Then why do you keep trying to talk about
so we are not allowed. Then we are not allowed to say that the content of our experience is all that exists. We are not allowed to say that. Kant is not a solipsist.
No, but the entire point is that we essentially we can look at things from the transcendental perspective, right? And all we could, derive the pure categories of the understanding and whatnot. Okay, we're done that project, right? We can't go beyond that. We recognize, okay, so everything that we have to do, we have the pure categories. So everything that we want to say about the world is going to be bounded by human subjectivity and our conditions for experience.
Okay, but
so everything that we now everything that we now say is going to be, an empirical investigation. It's subject to these causal laws.
Yeah, but with an exception.
It's subject to something like modus ponens.
Wait, but with
right?
an exception.
There is no exception.
Yes, there is.
Where's the exception?
Rem.
We can't talk about anything other than the objects of our human
You claim to
experience.
know anything about Kant, and you don't know that Kant's whole point is that we, in our experience, must acknowledge that there is an object of both our knowledge and experience that we could never possibly experience.
Let me ask you something.
We must acknowledge that.
If we don't know anything about the object,
Yeah.
how are we saying anything about it?
Because the only thing we can know is that we don't know.
I thought we don't know anything about it.
We don't. That's why it's formless. That is why it is fundamentally.
You
that is
can't
why
say-
it is
but you can't
fundamentally.
say two things. You can't say these two things at the same
Yes,
time.
you
can't
literally
say
can.
simultaneously. We can't say anything about it, and also, oh hey, let me say something about it. And here's that.
Which is that we can't say anything about it. That's
okay.
the whole
So if
point.
you acknowledge we can't
Dude,
say anything
that is
about
the
it,
whole
then
point of-
anything we want to talk about in the world,
Dude,
is
that
going
is
to be done
literally the
outside of
whole.
the
That's the
transcendental
whole
standpoint.
point of the Kantian thing. That's why it's the Kantian thing. The only thing we can say about it is that we know nothing about it. That doesn't mean we can say with certainty that the only things that exist.
Certainty is going to be defined within the empirical standpoint. The
No,
game of doubt
you don't
itself
understand that
presupposes certainty.
Kant's position is agnostic. It means we can never be fully certain about anything. That's why Kant says that the whole aim of his philosophy is to reconcile the the religious feeling within and the starry
Kant
heavens
did
above.
not say, like, you're viewing Kant as this hyper pessimist.
He's not a. I didn't say he's a pessimist. I said he's an agnostic.
He acknowledges that that's why he has his whole argument for the existence of this category.
What is the name of Kant's? What is the name of Kant's seminal work? What is the name of Kant's seminal work?
The Critique of Pure Reason, the Critique of Practical Reason, the Critique of Judgment. I mean,
Yeah.
I've read these books.
But
I've
you
read
didn't
many
understand them.
other
But you didn't
contexts.
If you don't understand that Kant,
I don't think you understand.
Yes,
can't
if
name
you
a
don't
single other
understand
real
that
Kant,
Kant's
you can't name a
project-
single contemporary
if you
Kantian.
don't understand that Kant's project ends in agnosticism, that we cannot be fully
you can't
certain.
resolve this contradiction at the heart of your interpretation of Kant.
This is literally Kantianism 101. The only thing we can be certain about is that we're not certain about it. That's really the conclusion of Kant.
You say we can't say anything about this thing.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Therefore, everything that we're going to say is going to be the things in human subjective experience. Saying
Yes,
anything
I
beyond
know,
that
but
is absurd.
the issue, Rem,
So
is that
certainty is
but
defined.
Rem, the
within
whole
human
issue,
experience.
Rem, I know you like to blabber on and not get to the point. The issue, Rem, is that the things we say about our experience, we can never be fully certain about whether they accurately reflect or correspond to
We absolutely
or are identical to the thing in itself.
can't, because you're trying to basically bring stuff from outside of human subjectivity and draw limits.
No,
upon
I'm
things
just
that are
saying
absolute
you
certainty.
can't close the knot and say you know things for certain you don't know.
Certainty is defined within human subjective experience.
No, it's not, because the only thing with Kant you can be certain about is that you're not certain. That's why
Your reading
Kant
of
is
Kant
fundamentally agnostic.
No, I 100%
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
I can
dude.
recommend you like some modern interpret. You can recommend.
Well,
me
why
a
don't you just
German,
respond to
French
what I'm
dude.
saying now? Why would Kant?
I've responded many times.
So
and I think-
according to you, Kant's thing in itself is basically just like he just wants us to throw it in the garbage.
no, we
basically.
don't throw it in the garbage. It's a
Then what is-
transcendental standpoint.
What's
It is
the
a way
then,
of
yeah? Then
it's
what's
a way
the point of it?
analyzing the way that human beings experience the world. Okay. So
Okay,
we
but
have that standpoint.
That's a
where we
lot
can
of blather
divide
and a lot of
into
blub.
categories.
That's a lot of blather and babble. Can you actually get to the point of why Kant would even talk about and mention the concept of a thing in
I
itself?
literally just said, because that's how he derives the pure categories of the understanding.
Okay, but what
That's
that
how he
means,
derives the
Rem, what
conception
that means is that we cannot be certain about the content of the thing in itself. Yes or no?
We can't even say that.
Why not?
Because we can't say anything about it. Do you see? You get yourself into this contradiction. What is the resolution to this contradiction?
But you already said something.
Acknowledge that certainty is defined.
Wait, Rem, but you just committed the same error you accused me of, saying, "Oh, we can't say anything about it, except that we can't say anything about it." What's different?
No, I recognize the inherent contradiction.
Well,
and
so do I.
move to bring certainty. To bring certainty into the realm of human subjectivity. You want to stay.
How does that resolve the contradiction?
What?
How does that resolve the contradiction?
Because certainty and for example, the necessary way that we experience the world is defined in human subjectivity. So the very idea of a contradiction is going to be rooted in our subjective experience.
Then why is there a thing why is there a thing in itself of which we can speak nothing?
I don't know how to explain to this.
So we can be certain about everything but that. We can be certain about everything but that, right?
We can be certain of everything but what?
But the thing about which we can speak nothing.
I'll try to explain it one more time, okay? The transcendental standpoint that we take towards objects in the world. For example, I can consider, well, what is the actual thing behind this bottle that I see in front of me? We can derive through, his transcendental arguments, the way that we have to experience the world. We get these from contemplating the very nature of how we would experience things in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. Once we do that, we recognize, oh, hey, to even talk about something being certain in the first place, because we have to have the idea of certainty. To call into doubt.
So you're saying it's not relevant.
Hold on, let me finish. To call into doubt the existence of something, there has to be something that's certain. You can't doubt the existence of something without having the very notion of certainty.
I'm not saying you doubt the. Hold on. I'm not saying you doubt its. I'm not saying
we have to have it in the.
Rem, I'm not saying, first of all, okay, I'm late because you blabber on a lot. Your whole point is basically that the thing in itself is not relevant as an object of knowledge in the first place to be certain or to know.
Well, it's not an object of knowledge at all.
Okay, well, I just summed it up for you. You just keep talking, and I'm doing you a favor. And then the second thing you're saying is that. Well, we cannot doubt the existence. I'm not saying that I'm saying there's a fundamental dualism at hand. I'm not saying you doubt the existence.
Disagree. I don't believe this.
Okay, well then you are in the minority as far as Kantians are concerned.
Not anymore. Not anymore. I'm not.
Well, okay, for most of history you were. And I don't care about your whatever cope. I don't care about your cope. Rem, I don't care about academics. I hate them all. Second of all, that exists today.
Sorry. So you want to go based off of a dogmatic? Well, this is a dogmatic interpretation that doesn't show true engagement with the text. Infrared.
And you haven't even proven that most Kantians agree that Kant is not dualistic.
Well, I can name a bunch for you.
That doesn't prove anything, though. Just naming that there's literally
you're not willing to read them.
Kant is literally the preeminent modern philosopher. So
you want me to go grab my Kant commentaries and establish.
Rem, did you just hear what I said? Kant is the preeminent modern philosopher, which means you are not going. If you put a list of 500 people that you consider scholars of Kant, they will not even be 1%. Okay?
I don't understand you. Step away from the mic. Okay?
Rem. There we go. No matter how many Kantians you mention, they will not even be 1% of living Kantians today. Second of all, because he's the preeminent modern philosopher.
Well, how many Kantians do you think that there are in the world?
People who study Kant and draw conclusions about the nature of Kant's work.
Yes.
There are just about as many modern philosophers.
Really? That's a very interesting statistic. Can you prove that to me?
I cannot fathom a modern philosopher.
No, can you prove that to me?
Yeah, I can. Well, I can't prove it, but I have a hard.
Oh, interesting. You can't prove it, so you're conceding the point.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying.
Really? Then prove it to me.
Okay, Rem.
Then what are you basing this on?
Shut the fuck up! Stop interrupting me, and I'll fucking explain it. You fucking gave up because he lost. What I was gonna say is that I couldn't fathom it, and if that he could fathom it, I'm open to hearing what he has to say.
I chose to leave because I realized, 1, I had to pee, and 2, there's no real way to end that conversation, unfortunately. I'll say this, though, about infrared. Infrared, you couldn't... Listen, I can't engage with someone who's not going to prove their claims. You can't make a claim that all these people are Kantians without any sort of proof. That's crazy. I won't engage with someone who's so bad faith and not willing to back up their claims. That's just not okay. I just won't engage with people like that. That's all. Listen, I'll say though, halfway through that debate, there's an inkling there. You can tell he's been indoctrinated into a very certain interpretation of Kant, but he doesn't have this is the real point. He doesn't have epistemic humility to consider that other people might have just as valid interpretations of Kant, right? Of any philosophers, right? I mean, he is just a complete and utter, like, he talks about other people being dogmatic. I've never talked to someone more dogmatic than that. You know what I mean? Let me just say, hey, thanks so much, Discursive Cognition and Greydong, interesting names, for $10 and $15, up to $40 now. Can we hit 60 maybe? I don't know. Thanks so much for the sub, Lol Relto, Crystal Lurker, Trev, Sammy's, Captain O, Joseph Lowe, BB Hoser, Leloif, 2, Young Keppa, and I. Thank you very much for the follows. I'm not rejecting that his interpretation of Kant, but that was it's called the dual world understanding. Oh, hey, thanks so much, boy. Wow, 17 months, Christ. It's called the dual world understanding of Kant, and it's largely gone out of fashion now, because, you know, you have to run into something called Jacobi's dilemma, which is that whole contradiction that we were talking about. How can we say, for example, that the transcendental objects, the things in themselves, are the causes, in a sense, of our phenomenal experiences, because presumably that's how we gain access to them, but also say that we can't have knowledge of these objects? There's an inherent contradiction. And so I think the way to resolve that is to treat the whole transcendental investigation as something that is inherently methodological and epistemic in nature. It's not a metaphysical investigation like he wants to say. It's instead a methodological one. God, some people are crazy, dude. Oh my God. Christ. God, people get... I thought... Jeez, he's just spamming my chat. Like, it's kind of embarrassing. Did I enjoy that? No. I guess you guys enjoyed it, though. No? 60. Hey! Modus peepee.
Someone save the VOD right now. Before I raid Zerka, can I be certain someone save the VOD? Can someone save the VOD?
Fire does the whole thing. See, I switch. Halfway through to have like a serious discussion. And I thought we were going somewhere there for a bit, but just not possible. Also, I wish I could find someone, like, I wish there wasn't someone who had such a hate boner for modern philosophy, analytic philosophy at least. Because I can't actually really talk to anyone about the stuff that I'm interested in. No. You cut me off, taunting me like a child not allowed. No, I cut you off when you started screaming at the top of your lungs. Like something that would appear on like fucking World Star Hip Hop or something. If someone did that, I mean, the police would be called. Like, you need to look into some serious anger management classes. Seriously. I mean that. Oh, turn my music down. Yeah, sorry about that. Maybe vape. Get some nicotine. Get some CBD oil. If it's legal. Oh yeah. Like, I think that if infrared has neighbors. By the way, don't vape. It's bad for you. If you have neighbors, if infrared has neighbors, I think I would have called the police. I'd be like, what the fuck? Is there like domestic violence happening? Is he having like a mental breakdown that requires some sort of intervention so he doesn't harm himself? If someone was screaming at the top of their lungs, I'm just saying. I'm not a psychologist at all. I'm just saying what I would do if I was in the physical vicinity of this. Actually, I wouldn't want to go near. I'd be afraid for my life. Not my life. I'm not saying he would kill me, but like, no, I'd be afraid for my safety, probably. God, that's so... Mouse Tant's got me. I ran away and is narrating the debate to make himself feel better after getting intellectually dominated. You're right. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm just pandering to the audience. I'm not actually making serious arguments. I mean, if I wanted to actually be on the same level, I would have been screaming the entire time. That's probably the way to go about doing it. Haz thinks trans people's identities are illegitimate. Really? Well, I don't know about that, but I don't endorse transphobia. That's bad. I sound racist against Arabs? Oh boy. Holy crap. Infrared is accusing me of being racist against Arab people. Guys. Yeah, fuck, like, that's so unacceptable. Listen, let me scroll up here, Infrared. What else did you say here? Why did you run away? Taunting me like a child? What are you saying about gay people? Are you saying that gay people somehow, like, aren't capable of standing up for themselves and are easily going to almost behave in a way that is cowardly? What are you saying? Are you homophobic? What the fuck is wrong with you? I didn't know that Infrared was a fucking homophobe too. Christ. Crazy. Yeah. Oh. Ooh, fuck me. I need to stop. When I get rid of this one, I'm going to get one without any nicotine, I think. Because otherwise I get Nick sick. There's no question about who won, but I actually want Ren himself to know he isn't smart. Are you saying gay people can't be smart? What the fuck? He's just still doing it in my chat. Christ. Just stop, bro. It's just a bad look. Jesus. I heard about this on the news, about bigger streamers rating smaller ones and being bigots. I just didn't think it would happen to me on my first stream back. Christ. Just didn't expect it. I don't know what to do. Wasn't today, you know what? I should have participated. I did. Wasn't yesterday the day of no streaming? That's why I didn't stream yesterday. Because I wanted to stand in solidarity against people like Infrared, who harass us smaller streamers. Well, you are from white culture and I'm from Arab culture. and my culture is more passionate, and we don't. Are you trying to say that my culture isn't passionate? Are you saying gay people aren't passionate? What the fuck? I think your dad would say otherwise. I think your dad would say that we are very passionate.
Thank you, Goose. Appreciate you.
Why do you think Arabs have to be homophobic? Oh no. Arabs are some of the greatest people I have met. Then why are you racist against them? Are you trying to imply that all gay people are racist against Arab people? What the fuck is wrong with you? Okay, anyways. Why am I blowing vape? I'm sorry, I won't do that anymore. Secondhand smoking is really bad. See, this is the thing, because when we started talking about like cotton stuff, like you can clearly tell he's got some knowledge on the topic, right? But then he comes into my chat and accuses me of being racist against Arab people, and I'm like, it's hard to square these two things, you know? Like, I'm like, wait, maybe he is... I still think he's a character. I still think that he is a character. He's just broadcasting my stream. Maybe I should DMCA him. You can't just restream my content. I didn't allow that. Please stop harassing me. Stop harassing gay streamers. Not.
Did anyone save the VOD?
What are you saying about not buying? I'm not gonna keep doing this.
Did anyone save this VOD? You did, Lowest Heavens? Why don't you save it? You did? Okay, Lowest Heavens, are you in the Discord?
Very much depends on who I'm talking to.
Okay, here's the ultimate conclusion, right? And if anyone uploads the debate, I need you to I'm gonna put this at the end of the VOD, right? Or I will. I might upload it myself. So, Rem, what I was going to say was that at the end of it, obviously I can't prove that every philosopher is responding to Kant. But it's a reasonable inference because Kant is the preeminent modern philosophy who sets what we call modern philosophy in motion. So him constantly interrupting me and saying, oh, can you prove it? Can you prove it? It's like, wait a second. If you disagree that with that like commonsensical point, we could actually work around it. And I can see where the point of contention is coming from. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, it's not really controversial that every modern philosopher is going to have some kind of view about Kant. So listing what Kantians today that you're familiar with, to speak nothing about Kantians in general, think about whether Kant implies some kind of dualism, isn't actually going to prove the point whatsoever that Kant... that your reading of Kant is actually what prevails among the majority of Kantians. It may prevail among the majority of Kantians you're familiar with, but you haven't proven that it's prevails among the majority of Kantians, and you also haven't proven that it prevails among the majority of philosophers in general who draw a conclusion about Kant. But he kept taunting me, so I said, shut the fuck up so I can explain this, and he just gave up. But to offer another commentary, to be clear, Rem is wrong. Now, when Kant talks about the thing in itself, he actually is talking about metaphysical thing in itself. which leads to the problem of dualism and agnosticism. Kant says that we cannot say anything about the thing in itself, but the actual implication of that fact isn't that, we can be certain about the world, but that the highest extent of our certainty about the world is always going to be conditioned, relative, and ultimately not certain. Our certainty becomes relativized and is no longer certainty about the world in and of itself, but certainty on the terms of our relative relationship to it. Now, he says, oh, it's an absurdity to speak about certainty in any other way or any other capacity. But there is still a world in itself. That's the issue, and that is so decisive for Kant's philosophy, that there is a world in itself. Just because we can't talk about it doesn't mean it's not necessary for Kant that we acknowledge it. Okay, someone please save the VOD. Someone please save the VOD. Of course, Kant... Thank you, Jennifer.
Jennifer_Asine donated $100. That dude is a literal grifter. You held your own as always.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Yeah, anyway, the point I was trying to make is that obviously Kant is not saying that the content of our experience is all there is. He's not saying that. Just because it leads to a contradiction or a paradox doesn't mean it's not the conclusion of Kant's view. I think it's more up to debate whether or not Kant believes the thing in itself actually exists. I'm not saying he thinks it exists. I just am saying for him, he's really referring to things in themselves. And it's metaphysically charged, that these are the things in themselves. Existence is a different thing, and that's why I said, from a basic Kantian dualistic perspective, our experience of a cup being both red and not red could very well be possible. Now, we could never know, but we could never be certain about the fact that the cup is only red. We can never be certain about that. Now, for practical purposes, we could be certain about it. And that's actually the conclusion for Kant, is that for all intensive and practical purposes, yes, that's all we could be certain of. But in and of itself, we could never be certain of. And when we're dealing with the question of existence and things' existence, we're not just dealing with, for all relevant and practical purposes to us, we're dealing with existence as such. Things in themselves as such. Now, if Rem was smart, he would actually go with the argument about existence. He would say, well, for something to exist means it has actually existence is phenomenally charged. That would be the smartest argument he can make. Existence is not... Nothing could exist in the thing in itself. The thing in itself could not be, is a matter of being, not existence. That would be a really smart argument. But I would still rebuke this argument. Because even this would be too much as far as the thing in itself is concerned. We wouldn't even know if it exists or not. Isn't it existence irrelevant to what? Yeah, like, the issue is that, like, you would have to say, okay, does that mean existence only means things that exist for us? Because that would also be controversial. Why can there not be existence in itself, or existence for God, or existence, so on? You wouldn't know. Yeah. Okay, someone save the VOD. Please, someone save the VOD. Whole thing. Someone save this VOD. Please save this VOD. And don't assume someone else is going to do it. Save the fucking VOD. Okay? Whoever you are, if you can, just save the VOD.
Basically what it is you have to register yourself with like if you're trying to join these online games, you have to register with your real name and all of that to your internet providers, I guess.
Scary.
Yeah.
What if you play on your brother's account and he's over 18?
They gonna send that motherfucker.
But you're not allowed to have a brother because
But
China's only a one kid.
I'll be doing.
No, listen. China's only one kid. You're only allowed one kid, so you wouldn't have a brother.
Didn't they change the one channel?